We are live with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
It is Joey Cates, and we got a great show for you lined up. In the studio today from Black Lab. Here we go. I got it right here. Black Lab Game Calls. We got Randy Swafford.
Damn it.
You I tried my best. In the studio, man, we're going to be talking about game calls. He's got a lot over here on the table, talk about his backstory and how he got into it. But before we do that, man, we got to thank the people that keep the lights on for us. Right out of the gate, our sponsor over at Southern Magnolia Smiles, man, that's Dr. Robbie Williams and his staff. Look them up on the socials at Southern Magnolia Smiles on Facebook and Instagram. Haven't came up with a cool 2024 saying, but let's just say book that appointment, man. They're local. They're located Ocean Springs, like I say, Washington Avenue. Give them a shout at 228-215-1202. Tell them that you heard about him on the Brown Water Banter podcast. Our buddy Tyler over at Taylor & Cox Law Firm. If you find yourself in need for some legal representation for any reason, man, give them a shout. They specialize in all the felonies, misdemeanors, DUI, family law, divorce, child custody. They even told us a story about representing some guys against, I think, the DMR a few years back.
Yeah.
So they're from here. They know the coast. Nobody wants to be in that boat, but if you want somebody that's going to fight for you tooth and nail. That's Taylor & Cox Law Firm. Give them a shout at 228-696-0111. Our buddy Rocky Brooks over at Sea to Swamp. 2 locations now, one in Gaucher, one in Gulfport. He's got you covered on your tackle and your apparel. They're a local shop. They carry brown water gear. Another great reason to go check them out. He's slinging
Probably the best
reason. He's slinging kayaks out of the Gulfport location. Give him a shout at 228-205-3964. He does real repair. Rocky's holding it down over there. And you can look him up on Facebook, see the number 2 and then Swamp, man. So check him out. Our buddy Kendrick, Forever Young Men and Women's Health. It's this time of year. It's New Year's, the New Year's resolution.
Time to get yoked.
Time to get that beach bod ready.
That's right.
And if you're finding it a little bit difficult, you don't have the motivation, go to Forever Young Men and Women's, book that appointment with them, let them run some lab work on you, let them see where you're at. Maybe your hormones are deficient. Maybe you need testosterone. Maybe it's a vitamin deficiency, or maybe you're just lazy, and he can help walk you through that as well. Kendrick's jacked himself, so he can help you get back in the gym. Give him a call, 228-363-6623. Tell him that you heard about him from the Brown Water Banter podcast. We highly recommend it. And he's a great dude, too. You'll have fun shooting the breeze with him while you're there. And one of our new sponsors that just came on, Dewey Do Bugs, located right across the street from Scarlet Pearl in D'Iberville. Joey's told me he went and ate it. He said it was great. It's actually boiled.
Boiled, yeah, not steamed.
Which steamed is good.
Yeah.
But this is boiled.
Way better.
I feel like it's a little bit that's different, you know?
Yeah.
Across the street from Scarlet Pearl, look them up on Facebook, Dewey Do Bugs. And we appreciate them jumping on board with us as well. Probably need to get them in here as a guest on the show.
Yeah. I talked to Larry. He's all about it.
Okay.
He's just rolling with it.
Yeah. And also we want to thank for the year, for January and February, Coastal Marine Sales and Service.
Yeah, that's right. Over in Gulfport, they picked up the app sponsor. So whenever you hit that app, hit that button, you'll be seeing them.
Yeah, that's right. And if you haven't already downloaded the app, go do that as well, free on the App Store, Google Play as well. So, all right, let's jump into the conversation. So, Randy, man, sorry for butchering your name on the intro. That's kind of my thing, though. It's kind of what I do. How the hell did you get into making game calls, man?
Well, I grew up around my grandpa. He did a lot of woodworking and stuff. He did bowls and vases and built big cabinets and all this. And then he got into making turkey calls, the slate pot calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always intrigued with woodworking growing up around him. So once he got into those, I started watching him, make those. And then I got tired of going duck hunting, having to buy these little plastic calls from the store, and they freeze up or stop working, or I'd blow too hard and they would peel out, wouldn't make a sound out of them. So I said, well, I know how to do woodworking. Why don't I just make my own?
What did you start with the woodworking side? Was it this, or was it other stuff like cabinetry?
I've always been big into woodworking. I did a bunch of different stuff for a lot of people. I did it was like a flower tower. That's what she called it.
Okay. I already know where this is headed. Yeah, I got
basically,
you.
It was just a tier of different little shelves as a triangle to put her pots on.
Okay.
So I've done that. I've done some cabinetry, which that is very hard. That's why I do not do it anymore.
You got to be perfect.
Yeah, you got to be perfect with that. and then I started doing bowls just like my grandpa, bowls, vases, plates, different things of that nature. But I didn't get into doing this until 2018. I want to say it was 2018 is when I started doing duck calls. One of my buddies from the Army, me and him were talking about getting into it, and I just took it and ran.
Yeah. Don't talk about it, be about it.
That's right.
I had a lathe at the time, and I said, well, I'm going to do it. So I just started. First one I made, screwed it all up.
Of course. Yeah. That's how you know you're learning.
Yeah, didn't do it right. The barrel insert or the barrel hole, I drilled it. They're 5/8 holes, and I took a Forstner bit and drilled it instead of a drill bit. The difference between a Forstner bit and a drill bit is a Forstner bit is your outside diameter.
Right.
Your drill bit's your inside.
Yeah.
So when I did my insert down to a 5/8 and I slid it,
blew the wall
stick.
out of it.
Yeah.
Didn't work. So
yeah.
I got a funny story about that. I hung a metal door one time, and you had to cut the hole for the door handle to go through. It wasn't pre-cut. And I was like, man, this didn't work out too good. Months later, my dad gets in my truck and he goes, what are you doing with that concrete bit over there? It was in my truck. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, that's a concrete bit.
Yeah.
I was like, no wonder it wouldn't cut that metal door. I really struggled to get it through.
Yeah.
Masonry's always got the TP on
the
top.
look of disappointment on his face.
Yeah,
was,
he felt
it was palpable.
Yeah,
he was very embarrassed. But so I feel what you're saying is the only reason I told him.
I mean, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
I would have never gotten into it without failing a couple of times. So that's what I just kind of use every time I make a new call. I always look back at where I started.
Right.
You know, drilling out the hole too big and it wouldn't work. So I had to throw that in the scrap bin. And then finally getting it down to where it fit. That was a big achievement for me, is, you know, making sure it fit tight, because some calls you'll get and the inserts will be too loose. And they'll fall out.
Yeah.
When you're using them. That's why you see a lot of people will put their lanyard, they use 2 drops, one for their insert, one for their barrel, because they don't want it to fall off and fall out. But I take pride on making mine fit real snug. Like, you have to use all your might to twist this one out.
Yeah.
And I just made this today, about 30 minutes before coming down.
So when you're in a boat or you're in the marsh, up to your knees and water, you don't want to have to worry about your call falling apart.
Exactly. That's why I make them real tight. And if they're a little loose, like I did this cut down, I did it to where I took a what is this called? Heat shrink.
Yeah.
I put heat shrink on it just to kind of keep it in there, because this call here has a little spot for your lanyard.
Right.
A lot of people like having both of them on there, as well as a barrel. But this one I didn't put one in there. So I just put some heat shrink on it, did a little PS Ult trick that I learned from a lot of studying on YouTube and all that. So
when I was in college, man, we were staying in an apartment and we had no cable in this apartment. So it was like whatever you could get through the bunny ears on the television.
Yeah.
And I think it was public service television
PBS,
in the evening time had a woodworking show that would come on. And the first couple of times it came on, me and some of my buddies that was in the apartment, we started laughing. We're like, what is this? Like, stupid shit. But then we got sucked into it.
Yeah.
And we started watching
old Yankee Workshop or something like that.
Yeah. And dude, I was mesmerized by this dude, what he would do with like on the lathe and all the like planing wood and stuff. So I can relate to like how cool it is. I've never done it myself.
Yeah.
Not like anything fancy, like other than cutting a 2x4 or something like that. But I think that's legit. So can you walk us through the process of like, what does this thing start out as? And then how do you turn it into like that one right there?
So what it starts out as is when I do these, this is a full cedar. And I literally just found a cedar tree that fell over. I cut a branch off of it.
Damn, that's cool.
So this call here started as just a branch.
Right.
And most of my calls start as just a branch, unless they're the fancy woods like this cocobolo or ebony, which is this little goose call here.
And that's your exotics that you got to order.
Yeah, those are the exotics that I got to order, because you ain't going to walk out in the Mississippi woods and find a cocobolo tree.
Yeah.
But as far as cedar, I just went out and took a branch off, and I cut it about however big it is, and then I cut it down into a barrel at 3 inches, and I stick it in my lathe, and I drill my 5/8 hole.
Right.
And then I have a pin mandrel that I stick it on, tighten it down, and those little rubber expands in it. I turn it down, and I don't have any particular style that I do. Some of my calls will match up, but most of it I just kind of wing it. Whatever the wood,
go with the wood.
Whatever the wood tells me it wants to turn into, that's what I turned it into. And then when I go to the inserts, same thing. It starts out as a branch or a 2x2 block of wood. You put it in the lathe, turn it down, and then get it to the shape that I want it to. And the insert here starts out as a 5/8 round, just a circle.
Yeah.
And then once I get it all done, I drill my 1/4-inch hole and I expand it out with a step bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put it into my jig that I had ordered, which was very expensive, but well worth the money. Because I tried making a jig by hand and cutting it by hand. That don't work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be perfectly straight, perfectly flat.
So your insert here has to be perfectly flat.
Yeah.
All the way until it drops, but both sides have to be flat because you got the hole on the inside. And if your reed sits at an angle at any point, you're not going to get a sound out of it. It's going to be all wonky, sound very weird. So it has to be perfectly flat. So that's where that jig comes in. But the jig, you just put it on a bandsaw, cut the slots out and everything, make it round. Once I get that done, you're not finished. It doesn't make a sound at that point. You have to continue filing and shaping. So everything for this insert here and every one of my inserts, once I pull it out of the jig, it's all done by just eyes. You look at it by eyes. I have a horse rasp, you'll see farriers use. And I take it and I just sit here and go at it, sand it, make sure both sides are still flat, get the right pitch on it and everything. And you're trying it the whole time with the reed. Yeah. So you're trying to get the same sound. Yeah. Right? So once I'll sand it, I'll take my rasp, I'll file it down. I'll stick my reeds in there, blow into it. Oh, that doesn't sound right. Take it back out, file it a little bit more. And it's a play between the wood and the reed itself.
What's that reed made out of?
It's just like a plastic.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
I don't know what type of plastic.
Right. That's what I thought. It's like it looks like plastic from here.
It's just a plastic reed. You got your different types of thicknesses.
Okay.
This one's like a 10,000th of a thickness. So it's very, very thin.
Yeah.
But it's a play between the reed and the wood. So your wood has to be perfectly flat, and then your reed has to have a certain angles cut on it. They're called dog ears, which just makes it easier to blow. Once you put your air through, it'll make it flutter a lot easier. Because if it's just a square, like I get them to where they're just square or rectangle, and you have to cut your dog ears on there, which I don't know if you guys can see the little angles that are cut on the
let me black you out.
Yeah.
See if we can get him on there.
No, his face is still showing.
Yep.
You got your hand in front of the thing.
I was trying to see if he can get it out. I'm trying to blank it out.
There
we go.
So that's on those corners,
So, 2-piece reed, one on top, one on bottom, and you got the dog ears on the top and the bottom.
Yep.
Looks like the one on top is a little shorter than the top one, but they both dog-eared, almost like a fence picket.
Yeah, so it basically looks just like the top of a fence picket.
Yeah.
And this one is called a double reed, which is why it's got two reeds on there. So you have your double reeds and your single reeds, which we can get into that if you guys want to.
Hell yeah,
the only difference between a double and a single reed is it slightly makes a different sound, but I find, and as a lot of other people find, is your double reeds are easier to blow. You don't have to have a lot of air pressure going through to actually make the duck sound like you do a single reed. But for me, either one.
I was hoping you was going to say a single has one and a double has two.
Yeah.
That's a difference.
Well,
that would have been yeah. But no, the double makes it easier, you're saying, though?
Yeah, a lot of people say that the double reeds make it easier to blow. I haven't found really the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Of course, I do this about every single day. And I haven't really found a difference between a double and a single reed making a difference in how much air pressure you got to put through it. But it does change your sound slightly. You'll get a little bit more out of it. And then another thing is a lot of guys want some rasp behind their calls,
right?
And you gotta cut your reeds at a certain way to get them a certain length to get the raspiness out of it. So the shorter your reed, the more rasp. The longer your reed, the more deep tone you'll get.
Right.
So for like mallard drakes and mallard hens, you want a shorter reed because they have more of a raspy quack than your other ducks like your teals and stuff like that.
Right.
And then you have different types of duck calls as well. So you have your cut downs, which I'll pull this one apart and show you guys what it looks like.
They look like art to me, man. That's what I'm digging
for
on.
You to turn those and turn them into that, like, have you found where the wood makes different sounds?
Yeah.
Like different woods make different sounds?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely.
That's like guitar making.
Yeah. It's just like a guitar. Your cedar wood will make a different sound than your cocobolo wood. cedar's a softer wood and cocobolo is a harder wood.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a big difference in it too, is whether you're using a softer wood or a harder wood.
Right.
And but from your acrylics like this to your wood, you'll have two different sounds. You can make the same call from your acrylic and your wood, and you'll have two different sounds come out of it both, because the wood is, I guess, more dense than your acrylics.
Yeah.
So vibrate different.
Yeah. So they both make a completely different sound. It's just like building a guitar.
Yeah.
So you build a guitar with mahogany, and then the guitar was, I guess, walnut. I don't know.
No, you can watch a documentary on like Paul Reed Smith guitars. They have like this vault of all this special wood that's very hard to find.
Secret wood.
Secret
like
wood.
some that's like you can't even cut that tree down anymore.
Yeah,
they don't even exist. Yeah.
Some shit, and like they'll pick up the block and hit it, and then pick up the same wood but a different block, and you can hear they sound different.
So each wood has a different tone, and it's all kind of just user's preference, really.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will go for cocobolo because of the looks. I mean, this is a very pretty,
it's
exotic.
beautiful. Yeah, it's got the.
So I'm saying they all look like
look
like pieces of art.
Yeah, so everything, I take it as a piece of art, because this is what I do.
This is your full-time gig?
No, I wish it was. I would actually.
Let's get it there.
Yeah. I want it to be my full-time gig because I have a lot of passion in doing these calls, which I offer a full lifetime warranty on all of them. So if you was to purchase a call today and go hunt in Arkansas and it breaks, 2 days later, I'll fix it. It's free of charge for you. If it's 2 years later, I'll fix it. I stand behind every one of these calls that I make for these guys, but
that means a lot, man. We did the Bahia sunglasses the other day. That episode,
the warranty is where it's at.
The warranty, the people in the comment section was like, I'm buying a pair of these just because of that. I mean, you spend your money on something.
And that's what I look at is when I first started out, and I priced these. I literally looked at the piece of wood, and I said, I'd pay $50 for that, and that was my price. $50. That's how I did it. That's when I first started out. I had no knowledge of anything.
I could see a CPA at some point being like, all right, listen, we need to figure out like this costs this much. And this is what we're selling for.
Speaking of that, when I first started, I literally looked at it, this cedar wood. I would say, well, that wood didn't cost me nothing. I cut it off a branch out back.
Right.
So it would be like $35.
Right.
And I spent like, let's say 2 hours doing it, and I'd say that's $35. Which
that's
looking back,
$15 an hour.
Looking
2 hours.
Looking back on it now, I was real dumb about it. But I actually have a buddy of mine who knows way more about this than I do, and he sat me down and said, "Hey, look, dummy. You need to do your profit margins and different things like that." So we sat at his house for 4 or 5 hours, and we went on my website and went through and looked at every one of the prices, and then went through and did all the different
corrected them all.
Margins and corrected everything. So. A lot of people.
You got a good buddy there.
Yeah. A lot of people were looking and said, "Oh, why did your price change?" I got smart.
I
was way undercutting myself.
I got smart. Thankfully he helped me out. Which he's big into it. It's a shirt that I'm wearing.
Is that ain't what's his name?
Dink.
He's in the comments. He said repping that Belly Buddy seasoning. Yeah, Dink. We were actually talking about that before we went live. We may need to talk to him.
Yeah, we will get him on as well too.
I'll give you his contact info. He's way funnier than I am. Way more outgoing.
That's all right.
But back to these. So this is your cut down. Both of these are.
Yeah.
This is a sycamore and an oak insert, and this is just full book matched cocobolo.
Right.
Which for people who don't understand what book matching is or anything like that, book matching means that it's the same wood.
Okay.
So if you see like a book match table or something of that nature,
that means the legs, the top, everything's
from the same tree. So this block of wood started out as I want to say a 24-inch square block, 2x2 block, and I just cut the insert in the barrel from that same block of wood. So it's a book matched wood. This is not. This is sycamore and oak.
Right. You just found them. Laying around.
I just went out back and said, "There's a oak tree. I'll cut that," and I'll cut a branch off of it, and then found a sycamore tree. When I was up in Tennessee, it fell over, and I cut a bunch of branches off it. And that's what I started with was sycamore. I found a sycamore tree some guy had cut down. He already did half the work for me. He cut it down. He cut it into blocks and then stuck it out by the driveway. And I went up and I just started chucking wood in the bed of my truck.
Here's a call.
Money.
So that's what I started with. So this is kind of like, this is one of the first calls that I made. That's why I hang it on my lanyard, is because it's kind of
sentimental.
That's the word.
Yeah.
But a cut down, you have your longer barrel, which is, it's a lot different from, your standard duck call. you have a longer barrel, which the barrel for your cut down is the same length as a full duck call that I make. And then you have your insert, which starts out just the same as your regular duck call, a little longer on the rear end, just because you have so much length on your barrel. And all it is basically it's a cut down. So you take your insert and I pull it out of the jig and then I cut it. I just chop half of it off, but I leave the hole.
Yeah.
I don't cut up to your hole here. Because if you do that, then you ain't got no call.
Right.
But you usually just take the top of it and you cut it. I just stick it in the bandsaw.
Really?
And then
are they all about that many pieces? Each one of these calls?
Yeah, each piece is you got your barrel, your insert, your cork. Some guys use rubber. I use cork. I just find it holds it a lot better.
Yeah.
And when it gets wet, it kind of swells.
Right.
So it doesn't shrink and it won't fall out. So when it gets wet, it swells up,
expands. Yeah.
And then
does that change? You notice changes the?
It will change the tone just because it's putting more pressure, but it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't do it enough to where
it's a problem.
Yeah. If a guy that doesn't do this make calls, he won't notice the difference. So the consumer won't notice that there's a change in sound, but for me, I'll notice it.
Now, is cork hard to get? No?
You just got to drink a bunch of wine.
Well, I think they even synthetics. That's why I asked the question, because I've heard a lot of those brands, either it was getting too expensive, hard to find.
Well, I go on a lot of my stuff I order offline because it's hard to find stuff to make duck calls around here.
I bet.
And a lot of the places I go to are call places. So like Brookside Game Calls, he has corks on there. Echo, he sells reeds and things like that, pintail waterfowl. So a lot of the same businesses that I'm in, they all sell the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll go on there and I can get 100 pack of cork for a few bucks, like $1.
Okay.
Plus shipping. So it's not hard for me to find, but if you don't know where to look, I guess it would kind of be hard to find.
Right.
But yeah, each call is the same. Some of them have more parts. Like this one here is a double reed, so it's got one more part than this one does. But basically, they're all the same. So you got your insert, your barrel, your cork, and your reed. That's all a duck call is.
Yeah.
And then to make the duck call, it's all about how you cut your insert and how you cut your reed. Because like I said earlier, the shorter inserts or the shorter reeds.
Yeah, the raspier,
the longer.
Yeah.
So the barrel does that have anything to do with the sound, or is that all? That's all like aesthetics, just for looks?
So the barrel most of the time is just for looks.
I kind of like that more. That it's part of like to make it look cool.
Yeah. That's all a barrel does. It just makes it look cool. And
it gives you a way to
actually
work
push the air through.
Yeah. Right.
And then a big difference. So if you can see on this cut down how the hole on this end is very like bored out compared to this.
Yeah.
So if you do that, that gives you a louder tone than this one. So this one, I had a buddy in the Army. I said, I need a name for duck calls. I need somebody other than me to come up with some names. So we come up with Swamp Thing,
nice,
which is this for my cedar calls. And all my cedar calls are timber only because you're in the swamp. There's a lot of timber.
Yeah.
So I only do them for timber. I don't do open water cedars.
Right.
And then I said, well, I need one for a cut down. It's very loud. He said, why don't you call it Loudmouth?
There it is.
I said, there.
Sold
right in front of my face.
Yeah. I said, well, you got me there. So I call it the Loudmouth, and that hole being bored out to the size that it is makes it very, very loud.
Really?
Yeah. I could run this in the timber. I can run it in open water, and the guy 7 blinds down will hear me.
Yeah.
Very, very loud for both the cut downs. And that's what a lot of people like is it's very loud, and you can put a bunch of air pressure through it since it has the longer barrel.
Right.
You can put a bunch of air pressure through it, and actually, you ever seen like the duck call competitions?
It's crazy.
Yeah, those guys have like lungs of gods.
I don't understand how they do it. Like how they don't pass out.
I don't either. I've
training.
I do it in the call shop because I have a few buddies of mine. He puts a lot of air pressure through it, and he really gets down. He watches a lot of Kirk McCullum.
Yeah.
Or I think that's how you say his last name, but he's the guy that actually started doing cut down calls. Is Kirk McCullum.
Okay.
If that's how you say, I'm probably butchering his last name, but his first name is Kirk.
That's fine. Jared butchered your name.
Yeah, I butchered your name.
So he's the guy that I guess kind of forefathered the cut downs.
Okay.
Right.
He watches a lot of videos, and I think he gets a little bit too in depth into it. And he'll be out in the woods just getting after it, trying to blow into.
Those are my favorite people, though.
Yeah,
that just nerd out.
But
on something.
But can you do that? Can you get too intense and like just blow your reed completely out?
Yeah, so like, you can. And I try to when I make my calls, I try to fight that because I know a lot of people out there. Try to put a lot of air pressure and try to get real into it.
Yeah.
Because they think the duck 2 states over is going to hear them and come in.
So we're hunting Mississippi, but I know they're from Arkansas.
I want them Tennessee ducks.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people do that because a lot of my buddies do that. So I try to fight that, but it's very hard to fight it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you put too much air pressure, you'll push that reed and it'll catch the inside of the barrel and it'll just kind of stick. That's what we call a stick and reed.
Okay.
So it will happen.
It's under warranty.
Yeah. Like,
whoa, that's not broke. That's just a user error.
Yeah, it will be a user error.
But it have to be fixed, though, no?
Well, what you could do is if you're out there and your reed sticks, take your insert out and then look at it. And your reed needs to be kind of set centered on your insert.
Okay.
If it's too far canted over to the side like that,
that's stuck.
You're going to stick it.
Okay, so you can just move it back.
Yeah, you got
you.
Literally just, if you're in the woods, don't pull the reed out. Because you'll lose that sucker.
Yeah.
But just center it back up to where it looks centered on both sides.
And quit blowing so daggum hard.
And then pop it back in there.
Chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Chill out a little.
Chill out a little bit.
Because a lot of people do that. I try to fight it, but it's very hard to fight.
Yeah. We had a comment come through earlier. I'll put it back up on the screen here. Tyler Blake, buddy of yours, he said that's my boy's dream since Afghanistan. So yeah, you weren't lying about that. So what, you was in the military?
Yeah, I was in the Army. I was a 15 Romeo, which is the Apache mechanic. It's basically what it is. So I worked on the Apache helicopters.
Were you out of Gulfport over here?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, my cousin does that. He's a hydraulics mechanic out of
CV. Is it CV?
Well, it's the base right by the airport.
The golf course, right across the street from the golf course.
Yeah. He was a hydraulic mechanic.
Yeah.
So I went. Well, I guess I'll just tell you my life story.
Yeah, let's go. That's why we're here, dude.
Yeah, we might get some more whiskey.
We'll get some more whiskey. Don't worry about it.
So I grew up kind of jumping all around the place, all around Mississippi. This is where I grew up. So I grew up in Gulfport, Saucier, not Saucer. Saucier.
Yeah.
And then what I found home in Janus, which a lot of people don't know where that's at. You two probably don't know where it's at.
Nope.
I've seen it driving up. It's on 49?
29.
29. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so
if you know where Brooklyn is, Brooklyn, Mississippi, you're going through 49 like you're going to Hattiesburg. You'll come into Forest County and you're in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Right next to that is Janus.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you get on 29 and you go north, you'll come into Janus. You won't notice.
Yeah.
It's what Jason Aldean calls like one of them flyover town. Like
you go through it and you'll never even notice.
You'll never even notice you're in there. There's one sign that says Janus and it's going south like you're leaving.
Right.
And that's the only one. And I grew up there. That's where my grandpa's house is. That's where him and my grandmother kind of just made home.
Yeah.
And
smart man, probably.
Yeah. He went out into the woods and he said, I'm staying here.
I'm not dealing with the rest of that stuff.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of, I guess, my characteristics come from him, because he basically raised me as a father figure. And that's what kind of got me into the woodworking and stuff. So I found home there. I lived with my granny for a long time, going to high school up there at Perry Central. And then I moved again back down here and I went to West Wortham High School. Graduated.
Here's the county, baby.
Okay.
I lived with
the Wolf Pack.
I guess I don't know. The Hurricanes.
That's Wes Harrison.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, you said West Wortham. West Wortham's the Wolf Pack.
No, I meant West Harrison.
West
Harrison.
I never heard of West Wortham.
West Wortham's in Harrison County, but West Harrison.
They're like the middle school.
He's a teacher.
I coach at West Harrison.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I did. I did a long time ago. That was my first coaching job. Like
really?
2009, 2010. West Wortham's middle school over there.
Okay.
Well, I graduated from West Harrison.
There you go.
I played football a little bit there, but didn't. Once I left Perry Central, football just kind of left my mind, because I grew up playing football up there at Perry Central, and once I left there, it's like I'm leaving all my team. I played a little bit, but then didn't really get back into it. Graduated from there. Short story. I met my wife there, but didn't know it at the time.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It bees like that sometimes.
Just ran into her.
Yeah. Got out of high school, said, what in the world am I going to do with what am I going to do? You know, the typical young kid, what am I going to do with life?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a daunting question.
It is.
Yeah.
And it was either work at Ingles.
Yeah.
Or
it's a good job.
It's a good job.
Good career. Good benefits, the whole nine.
But it was either work at Ingles.
Yeah.
Or join the military. Because I am not a school guy.
Yeah.
I do not like school. I did good in school, but I hated it. I hated studying, hate everything about it. So I said, you know, I've always wanted to be in the military. Ever since I was like knee high to a grasshopper, I was like, I want to be in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So went to the recruiter, walked into the Army recruiter, says, hey, I want to join. They were like, well, this is pretty daggum simple.
Yeah, he's like, that's an easy recruiter.
Well, here's a piece of paper.
Yeah. Sign right here.
Buddy. That's all it was, is a dude, and I forget his name, but he was probably one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. He said, all right, well, what do you want to do? I said, I ain't got a clue.
He was like, yes, yes,
perfect candidate.
Sign right here.
Yep, that being a recruiter, he probably I got this.
Yeah, you could have got a steak dinner out of him for sure.
Probably.
If you'd known hindsight.
Yeah, I said, well, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah,
and he said, all right, well, let's go take your ASVAB. So I took it up in Jackson, waited a few days, got the results back, and he said, well, here's a list of jobs you can do. I said, all right, what are you good? He's like, what are you good at? I said, well, I can weld. And I can turn a wrench.
There you go.
He said, well, which one do you want to do? I said, I'd rather turn a wrench.
The welding's hot.
Yeah.
I said, I'd rather turn a wrench. He said, okay. So I went back to Jackson to MEPS, and that's where you go in, at least for the Army. I can only speak for that.
Yeah.
You go in, you sit down with a bunch of grumpy people, and they say, what do you want to do?
Yeah, that's where you do your physical. And
that's where you do your physical.
Usually it's New Orleans or Jackson, depending on what branch it is.
So with me being up there in Janus, I went to Hattiesburg. So he said, well, closest one's Hattiesburg or Jackson.
Yeah.
So we went up there. Then I went up there, had some old dude watch me use the bathroom.
Pee in a cup,
and then do your physical. Look at something on the wall and read it. And then go talk to some grumpy old man. And he said, what do you want to do? I don't know. Well, you need to figure it out. Well, what do you got?
Right. So give me some options.
He said, well, what do you like to do? I said, mechanics. He said, okay. You ever thought about being a helicopter mechanic?
No.
I said, not once. I said, I like helicopters, but
sounds cool.
Yeah. I like.
Can I shoot the gun once or twice? And I'll do it.
I said, I like helicopters, but I like them up there. You know, in the air, away from me.
That's a good thing for a mechanic to want, right?
Yeah.
That's right. You don't want
if you said I like them on the ground, I'd be like, I don't want that guy working on my shit.
So he said, okay, well, here's your, looking at your ASVAB, you can do these things. He said, you can be a Chinook mechanic, a Blackhawk mechanic, or an Apache mechanic.
Going Apache.
All are cool.
Well, I knew none of those.
Oh, you didn't know what that meant?
Nope. I didn't know a single helicopter.
Gotcha.
The name of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we'll start in alphabetical order. And luckily he did, because he started with the Apache.
Yeah.
And
it's a bad weapon system.
The only thing I seen on there was the gun. And I said, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went to basic in Fort Jackson. Easiest thing I've ever done.
Okay.
Real easy. Thought it was going to be a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. Left there, then went to Fort Eustis, Virginia, to work on the helicopters. That was pretty easy. Believe it or not, working on a helicopter in the Army is not hard.
Really?
They give you a book, and it tells you everything you need to do, step by step.
See, that's funny because you said that earlier about not liking school and learning. And I was going to say, but I bet you learned how to learn at some point, especially doing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think people that they say they don't like school, they're not good at it, either didn't have like a good experience or they didn't ever find a passion about what to learn about. And then usually when you find that,
you
see what I mean? Like
nobody wants to write an English paper.
Correct.
Exactly. Some people do.
Some people.
But none of us.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's into this thing.
But it's like, hey, you want to learn about woodworking, or do you want to learn how to work on a death copter?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I do.
Yeah. So what got me into mechanics was my grandpa did mechanics too. He was kind of a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I was at Perry Central, they had the trade school.
Yeah. CTE.
Votech. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
And I did mechanics up there, but it's such a small school compared to like West Harrison or Harrison Central that they did mechanics and welding.
Gotcha.
All in one class.
One course.
So, that's where I learned to do all that. Where I learned to mechanic, where I learned to weld. And then I went home and I just did it. I started piddling with stuff. So that's what got me into mechanics. And then once I got done with Fort Eustis, I went to Fort Campbell and stayed there for 6 years. That was the only duty station I went to.
Where's that at?
In Kentucky.
Okay.
Well, Kentucky/Tennessee. It kind of engulfs both of them.
Gotcha.
So you got Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and then Clarksville, Tennessee, and Fort Campbell's kind of like smack dab in the middle of both of those.
So you did 6 years, deployed to Afghanistan at least once, per the comments.
Yeah, I went to Afghanistan. That's where me and old Tyler Blake there became real good friends. And I got a story about that one. And then I went to Europe too. I did a
Austin Miller said he's still at Campbell. Can you believe that?
I can.
Yeah. Appreciate your service there, Austin.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Campbell's like a black hole.
Really?
Once you're there, they do not want to get rid of you.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on if you like Campbell.
Yeah.
Good answer.
If you like the
good
area,
answer.
Yeah, if you like the area, it's a good thing. If you want to travel, not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
Yeah.
How many times did you deploy?
Deployed technically one time to Afghanistan because I don't really consider the Europe rotation a deployment.
Right.
It's more just a
It
rotation.
was like a little vacation.
You could say that. It was during COVID, so Poland.
Well, at least you got to see everything.
Yeah.
Well, no, during COVID, it's probably all locked down.
Yeah. So,
well, you didn't want to see the people. You just wanted to see the sites.
A lot of it.
I don't think they could. Could you even go around? Could you even do anything?
In Poland, since we were locked down on the real small little base to where our like PX, which is basically like a Walmart.
Yeah.
Was literally a trailer, like a 18-wheeler trailer.
Mm-hmm.
That was our PX.
Yeah.
So we got lucky, and they were like, "All right, we'll let you go, see the sites." So we got to go out in Poland, which was very fun. I enjoyed the hell out of Poland.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And then we went to Germany, which was full lockdown. Couldn't do anything.
Right.
We did a little field rotation there, so we barely could even go on the German, like the base that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
We were just stuck out in the woods, and then
that probably sucked.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And then I went to Bulgaria and Romania.
See, you got to see some. I mean, you
just
got to be there.
Yeah, flying over, I got to see everything.
Yeah.
But once I got to Romania, you're on the base. You ain't going nowhere.
Let's see here. Tyler Blake said you tried to kill him with a helicopter.
Yeah, that's the story.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's hear it. We got to hear it now.
All right. So we were in Afghanistan, and we got a call for a TIC, which is troops in contact, on our guys that were on a jump FARP. It was some fuelers were over there, and they were getting contact. So they called us, said, "Hey, we're launching." So me, him, and I forget who was there. It was a very fast little movement. I just remember me and Blake, or Tyler, whatever he wants to get called. We jumped into the truck. And
his government name?
Yeah, his government name.
Two first names. Which one, sir?
Well, he's got 3 first names. It's Clinton Tyler Blake.
Okay.
Oh,
so, all right.
You just put him out there now.
He's fine. He'll live.
Yeah.
So we jumped in the truck, drove down to the aircraft, got it all uncovered and everything. And I was a runner. I was just running around back and forth between the two. And Tyler was on one of the aircraft with our commander, and I forget who was in the front seat, probably a lieutenant, because he liked flying with lieutenants, just to make fun of them. And I come running back to his aircraft that he was on, and my platoon sergeant said, "Hey, we need a starter." I said, "Okay, where do you want me to get that?" He said, "Go pull it off of one that we got down over there," which was like 4 pads down. And the pads were as wide as this room, if wider.
Okay.
And then they had spaces in between them. So I had to run a pretty long ways.
So 30, 40 yards.
More than that.
Yeah.
But so I said, okay. So I grabbed some tools, ran down there, took it off, handed it to one of my buddies who is a armament guy, and he worked on the gun and the wiring and stuff. Handed it to him, said, "Don't drop this." He said, "Okay." So he's running like this, holding it because there's oil and all in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so me and him were up on the engine. He was leaned over the engine like this.
This is on an Apache, right? Okay, yeah. Just making sure. All
about to take off.
Yeah, so it was about to take off, but the starter had,
Mm-hmm.
it's got 2 engines and 2 starters. So one engine was running.
Mm-hmm.
The other engine wasn't running.
Not running.
Because the starter wouldn't run.
Yeah.
Like my lawnmower.
Yeah. And you have a small, like, baby engine. It's called an APU, an auxiliary power unit,
right,
in the center that powers both of them by pushing air to the starters. And then, I can get into detail, but I don't think you guys care.
Yeah, we got you. We got you.
But so one engine was going, but they had to shut it down, but they left the APU on, which is like the
primer on it.
Yeah,
right,
kind of like your primer. So they left it on because our maintenance test pilot and our platoon sergeant said, "It's fine. It can stay running while you guys do this." We said, okay.
Okay.
We didn't know.
I think it's not a good idea.
I feel like maybe that wasn't the answer.
No, it wasn't the answer.
It wasn't the answer.
We said, okay, we're both young specialists.
Right.
I think he was a specialist and I was a private at the time, or we were both specialists. I can't remember.
E1, E2,
E4,
E4.
So I know he was an E4. I think either an E3 or E4. I don't remember what rank I was at the time.
All right.
But he's leaned over like this. The starter's kind of in front of you on the engine, and he's leaned over, taking the nuts loose, so we can twist the starter and pull it off. There's a pipe that comes up from the APU to the starter, and the APU sends air through it to spin it over. Well, I'm loosening the clamp on the pipe. It's one of these clamps that close and then has a little thing that flips over, and you tighten the nut down and it sinks it in. So I'm loosening it up, and I remember I had my thumb on it, about to push it to pop it off, and I turn and I look back at my platoon sergeant to be like, "Hey, we're good?
Yeah.
Can I do this?"
Yeah.
Because the APU's still running. And I said,
your spidey sense was going off. Maybe I should check and make sure.
Yeah, something said, "Hey, don't do that yet." Ask.
Yeah.
So I turned and I look, and I remember my platoon sergeant going, "Just fucking do it." So I was like, "Okay,
why are you here?"
Yeah. It sounds like a direct order to me.
I said, "All right, cool." Now Blake's still like this, and he's working. He's got his face looking at it, and he's probably this high off of the engine. I said, "Okay," popped it. And as soon as I popped it, all that air pressure was still built up into it. And it just came raging right past me, right past my face, straight into Blake's.
Because you were kind of turned.
Yeah, I was turned
really
like this.
Hit you.
And it kind of went right past my ear. It hit me. It was hot. It was hot as hell. I lost hearing in this ear for a while. Still got not good hearing in it. But popped right past me, went all into Blake's face. And I went down like this because my ear hurt.
Yep.
And then my platoon sergeant and MTP were like, "Are you good?" And I said, "Don't worry about me. Check him."
Yeah.
Blake was in the fetal.
He took the money shot.
He was in the fetal position on the little platform like this. And I was like, "He's dead. Check him. Don't worry about me."
Medic.
And they were looking at him, and he popped back up and was like, "Holy shit." And we went back to working.
Mm-hmm.
It was like nothing even happened. We just kept going. Pulled the starter off, put it back on, launched him. All that was in 11 seconds.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How bad did he get burned?
You couldn't tell. His face was red.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, skin peeling
shit. Right.
He can probably tell you what.
He probably got a hard head. Probably hit him right in the head.
Yeah, he got a hard head. He could probably tell you how hot it was because he Googled it. I don't remember, though. But it was
hotter
hot.
than you wanted.
Yeah, it was hot as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the time I almost killed him.
Yeah. Well, that's a good story.
That's good. That's a
good story.
That's when me and him became real good friends.
Yeah. That the Apache though, that's a badass weapon system. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And you were as the mechanic though, kind of covered the whole entire plane. Is there like you deal with the engine only, hydraulics only, or you're responsible for everything?
As the mechanic of it, you do engine, hydraulics,
everything.
Airframe, well, not airframe. You got people for that, but engine, hydraulics. Just the basic mechanics.
But
stuff.
Don't touch the weapon systems.
No, that's the Yankees. That's the armament and they're armament and wire guys.
Yeah,
they chase wires. They play with the guns.
I like it.
That's all they do.
Yeah.
You're a wire guy.
Yeah.
Wire guy.
You're a wire guy.
They can have that job because none of the wires are like around here where it's like color coded and all that. No, they're all white.
That's
so
good.
they can.
You got to label it.
Yeah, they can have that.
So we say all that, and again, thank you for your service.
Yes.
I love hearing those kind of stories. But you've been talking about making these duck calls since then. That was y'all were talking about that in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
telling these guys.
Yeah,
that?
So we deployed 18 to 19, and in 2018, me and another one of my buddies, Bright, was talking about making calls, and I started doing it then. I ran with it, and then that's all basically I talked about in Afghanistan was I want to go home and start doing this again.
Really?
Because Afghanistan was fun. A lot of people won't say it was, but my experience was fun. People, all the grunts will say, "Oh, you're a pogue." I don't give a crap.
What's that?
People other than grunt.
Yeah. That's a good. Okay.
Anyone that's not an infantryman is a pogue.
Right.
So I don't care. I had fun over there. I did a lot of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is all I wanted to do. I wanted to go home, make some duck calls, and I was talking to him about that's what I want to do when I get out.
Yeah,
do this full time.
Well, we love talking to people on this show that are doing.
Get you a drink, man. You've been talking a lot. You've been talking a lot.
I love talking to people on this show that are doing like their passion. That's my favorite part of the whole show.
Yeah.
My thing is, where do you get the sound? Like, I know we've all heard ducks. We've heard a mallard. We've heard a teal. We've heard a coot. We've heard all that, a turkey. I don't know if I could make a call just from me remembering what the sound is. Do you have something that makes that sound that you try to mimic, or you just do it all from memory?
Yep. So I go on YouTube and I look up, ducks quacking on the pond. some
That's
random.
good. Okay,
Yeah.
I see where you're at now. I just assumed that because you said you YouTubed a lot of this, right? I just assumed there was a formula. There's a
No.
You just go by ear.
Yeah.
So there's not used it like okay. So the reed is plastic.
Yep.
You buy that.
Yep.
That's where your sound comes from.
Yeah.
Okay. There's not a cut the reed like this or this.
You can cut your reed differently and get different sounds. Like your cut downs are cut different.
Let me say it like this. There's not okay. We're making a mallard call. Buy this gauge reed of plastic and cut it like this, and you're going to be there.
No. So a lot of the duck, I just
it's all by ear.
Yeah. A lot of the
I
duck
could see
hunting,
tuning it by ear.
Yeah.
I just assumed that's how that was.
Yeah. A lot of the duck hunting community don't tell you nothing. So all of this, like I did a lot of research watching YouTube on people turning calls and turning their inserts and things like that. But no one is on YouTube showing you how to cut.
Lynn Ford.
Granny.
Okay, said I've never heard him talk this much.
Yeah.
Well, good. We appreciate
He's
that.
drinking.
It's because they
we
gave us
like
a drink.
that. Yeah, we like that. We like that.
Yeah, no one on YouTube's telling you how to cut your reeds, how to shave your tone board or anything.
What plastics to use, what thickness.
That's because they're
it's a trade secret.
Proprietary.
Yeah.
Proprietary.
Yeah, it's a real big trade secret. And so all of this, I researched how to turn the call, how to do that, and then everything else. I would literally go, like my mallard call that I make. Buddy of mine, Dink, he was on there.
Yeah, he's still here.
Yeah, I took one of his mallard calls. I took it apart. I took a picture of it, and I put it back together, and I gave it back to him. And then I went home, pulled the picture up on my phone, and just kind of mimicked what it looked like and how the reed was cut and all things like that. And that's how I do it. And then I blow into it. Oh, nope, need a little bit more. Fiddle with it some more.
Right.
Need a little bit more. And then I'll take a video, send it to him, be like, how does this sound? And he'll be like, oh, it needs, yada, yada, yada. And I'll go off of it from that. But most of when I do these calls, it's all by ear.
From memory.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good question because I just, like I said, I assumed that was part of the YouTube. Hey, here's how you cut the reed.
Nope.
You use this thing.
It's all
it's
by
automatic.
ear.
This is the mallard reed,
Yeah.
right? So that's not the case. So then the YouTube part of it and the woodworking part of it is for the
just a turning.
the turning. There's a few people on YouTube. Like if you go back like 5-6 years ago, you'll see some old heads on there turning them and then cutting them and stuff like that. But it's very far between, and they don't really talk you through the process. It's more of like,
this is what I'm doing.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
There'll be a camera from some like teenager that wants to put it on there, and you'll just see the old man just, there it is. That's a mallard call.
So without giving away any secrets, do you know now how to like say, okay, this reed with this thickness is you kind of know the formula now. That's a mallard.
Teal.
Yeah, I can kind of look at it and be like, okay, I know what this is going to be. I can hear it.
Right.
When I put it together, I'll blow into it and like, all right, yep, that sounds right. Or no, it needs a little bit more. I kind of done it enough to know how to do it. I kind of have my own formula.
So take that one right there. So if you did that cedar one, you don't know what kind of call you're making until you put the reed in.
I have a plan for it.
Yeah.
So like the cedar one, I'll say, all right, this one's going to be a timber call. Because you have your timbers, your open waters, your cut downs, teals, mallards.
Duck. Yeah, all the way.
You have all different types of calls. So when I make them, I'm like, this one is going to be timber.
Call. Yeah.
And then this one's a hybrid that I made for a guy that hasn't picked it up yet. And a hybrid that I make is a mix between an open water and a timber.
Right.
So I know going into it, this is what I want. And I'll try my damnedest to make it to that.
So the difference.
I was gonna say, if I'm about to piss all the duck guys off, is that what you're about to ask?
No. I'm guessing the difference is between the timber is going to be bouncing off trees and the open water is going to be.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wanted to go ahead and ask just for people that are listening that don't know anything about this.
So your timber calls are built more for being in the timber.
Right.
So they're gonna sound better in the timber. They're gonna be loud and kind of bounce the trees and not make it as far out as your open water. Your open water is still loud, but it doesn't have to bounce off anything. So it's more just like, hey,
projected.
We're here.
Right.
Hey, we're here. Come over here. Your timber is kind of just ding, ding, ding off the trees, kind of making it sound like, you get more ducks in. And then your cut downs are kind of what they do post.
Now, we used to have 3 or 4 mallards when I was growing up in our pond, just, tame or whatever. Pet. Well, they really weren't pets, but they stayed there. Do you have different styles of calls inside of each species of duck, or is it the same?
Yeah, so I have wood ducks, which this is a mini wood duck, this one and this one here. these two are mini wood ducks.
Yep.
That I make. So that's just a wood duck call. That's
But
all
the
it
same
does.
sound on both of those?
On both of those two calls right there, yes.
Okay.
They're the same sound.
So for a wood duck, you try to make one sound. There's not like wood duck this, wood duck that. It's just okay. All right. That's what I was getting at.
Well, I think he's trying to say is like for deer, is there a mating call for wood ducks?
Or like I'm about to land or I'm far away. Like
that,
all the same.
Again, not duck hunters.
So that is how you do it, how you blow it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So when I make it, I make a wood duck call.
That makes total sense.
And then when the user,
I bet the audience is like, are these fucking idiots?
Yeah.
The ones who get to interview him?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. That's where we're at with it.
the end user is the person that's going to make those different sounds, like your quack, your landing, your feed chuckles, and those things. It's all about how you do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people for like their feed chuckles would do tuck, 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 tuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people change it up and do a different way of doing it. I do the ta 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 when I do my feed chuckles. That's how I learned, and that's what works for me.
Okay.
And other people would change it up and do something completely different. Be like, no, you got to do it this way.
Mhm.
And then you try it and you screw it all up.
So you just make the tool. It's up to the user.
Yeah.
That
to
makes
use
sense.
the tool.
Yeah, and that's what like go back to the research on YouTube. That's what I do. I'll go on there and I'll watch like echo calls.
Mhm.
He'll get on there and he's got some videos of how to do like your feed chuckles and your landings and your all that stuff, and I'll watch him, and then I'll just sit there and I'll play it and I'll try to remember it as best as I can. Then I'll grab my call, like when I'm in the truck going to work. I just sit there and blow onto it, practice.
Going back again, no trade secrets, don't give them away. But going back to the tuning, is that a matter of trimming the reed?
It's both. So it's trimming your reed and how you do your insert.
Okay.
So it's how you cut your insert and how you trim your reed, because your open water and your timber are two completely different inserts, but the reeds are basically the same.
Okay.
So it's kind of both.
Okay.
And then your hybrid is a mix between both of those, timber and open water. Now, I don't know if a lot of people out there are doing hybrid calls. I haven't seen them. I just had a buddy of mine, Gabe. He said, hey, I want a call that I can use both timber and open water.
Right.
And I said, well, I'll give it a hell of a shot. So I did it and made it.
Explain the ceramic process, because this is probably different than the wood process.
Yeah,
right?
so this is acrylic.
Acrylic.
Yeah,
acrylic. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So it's it's basically kind of the same process, except your acrylic is a lot harder to turn.
Yeah.
It takes me a lot longer to do this call than it does to do this call.
Right.
Just because it's really, really hard.
You're still turning that on the lathe though?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all on the lathe. It's all by hand. It's the same process as making it from wood. It just takes a little longer to do your acrylics.
And you have to order that, I guess, in blocks. Is that how?
Yeah. So this started out as a I think it was like I don't even remember the length. It was about yay long.
Right.
Just rod. And I had the guy from Deadshot Customs. That's where I ordered these. These are the mossy oak bottomlands.
And you can get any camo you want, right? Any finish?
From him, you can get only mossy oak, because you can't have mossy oak and real tree partnerships at the same
they're stepping
time.
on each other. Yeah. Pepsi and Coke.
Yeah, Pepsi and Coke.
Gotcha.
But
it comes with that already.
Right. It comes with
there.
the camo in it.
Yeah, it comes with the camo already inside of it. Which is good, because I have no idea how to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just order the block or the rod from him, have it already poured at the 5/8 hole, because I had got it one time, which you can see that right there, how it's white on the inside.
Right.
So I get my inserts full to where there's no hole in it, but I tried to drill out my 5/8 hole through that one time and completely blew it out to where the camo on the inside was getting cut out. So from then on, I was like, so that was another learning experience for me.
Yeah.
I emailed him and said, hey, this happened. He said, what are you doing? I told him. He said, yeah, don't do that. I said,
you're not doing it right.
Yeah. I said, okay. He's like, yeah, you need this type of lathe to do that with that. I said, oh, that makes sense. All right. And ever since then, I've just been ordering them pre-drilled for these, but they still come as a cylinder. So I'm still turning them down and then taking these rods that are full rods and then cutting them and everything.
Yeah.
People that are listening, the takeaway from this is don't be afraid to ask a question and don't be afraid to make a mistake too.
Yeah.
That hinders a lot of people from trying something new.
Yeah. A lot of this was all just making mistakes and being like, okay, well, let me write that down.
Right.
Like the 5/8 hole, or as we talked about earlier, wrote that down. Well, don't do that. Use an actual drill bit, not a Forstner bit.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
You screwed it up.
I got a checklist of, like, I'm sure an mechanic, right? A checklist of things you got to go over. Like, don't do this, do that, don't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all the same. If I make a mistake, I'm like, okay, let me jot that down, and I'll put that in the memory bank. And the next time I do it, I'm like, hey, I did this last time and it screwed up. Let's do it this way this time.
Yeah.
And that's all I do.
Yeah.
Give us a rundown of what you got on the table. So if I'm a consumer and I want to go to you and say, hey, I'm going on a duck hunt next week,
or especially the people that don't know a lot about duck calls at all, kind of like us.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have my timber calls, cut down calls, and
these are for ducks.
Yeah. So these are what I'm about to show you is all ducks.
All right.
I have a hybrid, which is this one here, which is a mix between my open water and timber. I think this one, if I stop dropping stuff, that's a timber. So this is my mallard that I made myself. So that's just a mallard drake.
Right.
Wood duck for here, and I don't have any open water. Wait.
Those last two, if Joey, could you put them back towards him? Or maybe he can do it. Pull it back towards.
Yep. It's like chess.
They're all drop tested. Don't worry about
it.
That's
right.
They're drop tested,
and they have a great warranty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So open water.
Okay.
And then this is another timber here, and then I also do goose. See. Drop tested. Yeah. Goose calls as well, and crow calls and turkey calls. But this is a crow call that's used for turkey hunting.
Right.
So if crows and owls. I do owls too. I just don't have any. The ones I have are in Cedar Swamp, if they're still there. Hopefully they're not. Hopefully someone bought them.
Well, there was a few. I mean, the reason why we got this podcast is I walked into Rockies probably
the day after,
less than 24 hours after you did.
Yeah, he was in the comments earlier.
Yeah, and I saw this whole thing calls, and I was like, these are the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
so I gave you a ring, and
the day after, I actually went down there and gave them those calls to put in there, and then the next day you called me. So it was like literally the next day.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your crow call is used for like turkeys. They're called locator calls. Turkeys and for turkeys, you blow this first thing in the morning, and generally a tom will respond.
Yeah.
He'll gobble back at you. And then you'd be like, all right, well, he's over there.
Yeah.
You go run in there.
So now we're going to run over there, and then we're going to try to call him to us.
Yeah, try to call him to us. And then I do a bunch of different turkey calls. I have box calls.
Yep, because Nicholas Mullins says, you happen to bring any turkey calls with you? I still got to get one.
Yeah.
Well, there they are right there. You got a box call.
There's one right here. Yeah, so this is what I call a scratch box call.
I think I've seen these before.
Yeah, so these are like a real old school style of turkey calls, and not a lot of people make these anymore. They're more box calls and slate pot calls.
Right.
Which I do those too.
The slates with the stick.
Yeah, the slates with the stick and all that. Which I do those when I've done copper pot calls, aluminum pot calls, slate pot calls, and then the box calls and these scratch boxes. Which these are an old school style of call, kind of mix between your box call and your slate pot calls.
Well, go ahead and fire that up.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me hear what that thing sounds
Let's
like.
see if it's got enough chalk on it. So all you do is you hold it between your fingers like this.
Yeah.
Keep your thumb kicked out, and then I put BL on the front of it for Black Lab. So
I like that. I love the name too. By the way. I should have led with that.
Yeah.
So that this side is up, because if you could see, this side is thin.
It's kind of like a harmonica. You got little notes in there.
Well, don't worry about the holes on this.
Yeah.
But that's from
it's thin. Yeah.
So this side is thin and this side is thick.
Yeah.
So you hold it where the thick side is up. Put it on your thumb like so, and then you can do your clucks, purrs, and all that from this. Same as your box calls and your slate pot calls as well.
Right. So go ahead and get us a goose call, get us a duck call, get us a crow call. Go ahead and hit all those.
Well, I'm going to start. I ain't good at the goose calling.
All right. So what's your favorite?
I'd love cut downs.
All right.
But these are very loud. I don't know if you guys want me
to. No, go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
we got headphones on.
Just pull it.
Pull it aside.
Pull that out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cut down.
That's cool.
Yeah. So let me fix this.
Yeah.
So that's the cut down there. these are very, very loud compared to like your regular, timbers or your open waters. And that's why I like these a lot more. I still run, as you can see on my lanyard. This one is hanging on my lanyard.
And that's the first one
That's
you did.
that first cut down I made.
Yeah.
And the second one I made, I sold to a buddy of mine, and he's been running the hell out of it. I just redid the reed and the insert for him.
Yeah.
Which I do that as well. So for any calls. So if anyone comes to me and says, "Hey, I got this Echo call and I need a new reed on it,"
Fix it.
I fix it. Of course they're going to buy the reed and they're going to buy the cork, but I still fix them. So I'll retune them if they need retuning. I'll redo the reeds, redo their corks, and everything.
That was on your Facebook page. You'll retune or tune any brand, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what brand it is. If you say, "Hey, I have this Echo or I have a PS Ult or anything like that, and I need it retuned," I'll retune it for you. And I'll do what you want it, what style you want it to. If you want a little more rasp out of it, or you need a little bit more deep tone out of it, I'll do that for you. It's all about what the consumer wants.
Yeah. Do you make any of these and sell them out, or do you do it more like made to order? So if I call you and say, "Hey, I want a mallard, whatever, a Drake call."
So if I have them already, I do make some. Like I'll be after work, I'll go into the shop and I'll make a few calls. So if you text me and say, or email me or call me and say, "Hey, I want a mallard Drake call."
Yeah.
If I have a mallard Drake call made on the shelf, I'm like, "All right, well, here's a picture of it. This is what I got." If they want a sound file, I'll make a video and send it to them. It has to be a very short one because Facebook's very weird for some reason on sending videos.
Yeah.
And so is the iPhone. I tried sending a video of a guy who said he emailed and said, "Hey, I bought a Woody call from you, but I don't know how to run it very well." I said, "Okay, I'll make you a video." So I made like a 6-minute video.
Oh, that's why 6 minutes. That's a long time.
Yeah. And then I tried cutting it down to like 3 minutes, and it was like, "Nah, that's too long." I was like, "All right, dude."
Facebook said that?
Facebook and my text message.
Okay. I thought you
weird.
iPhone users, I thought iMessage would do a 3-minute video.
Nah.
No?
Not for me, at least.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Hey, dude, you want to FaceTime?"
Yeah.
It's probably the easiest way to do it.
So I did that, and then I have a whole list, and I don't think I've put it up on TikTok or anything like that. But if anyone's like, "Hey, I don't know how to run this wood duck call," I'll be like, "All right, here's a picture of the different sounds you can do with it, and like the ones you need to do, because the wood duck is very weird. If you do if certain calls, you'll spook them and make them fly away. Other calls will make them content and stay in there." Where was I at on that?
That's genius.
Yeah.
What?
That's genius. So you have a TikTok for Black Lab?
Yeah, it's Black Lab.
Just doing the call. Straight duck calls.
Yeah,
of what it is.
A lot of my videos on there are me making some of them, like just turning them down and different things like that. And every now and then I'll do a live and get on there and do a full build.
Yeah.
From starting the barrel to the insert to tuning it and all that.
It's probably pretty long.
Yeah, it's a very long. That's why I do it on the live.
Yeah.
And then here recently I've been putting a lot of sound files up.
That's what I think where your money's at is where you're just doing your call.
So I've been putting a lot of sound files up because a lot of people are like, "Hey," like I had a guy wanting a wood duck call 2 days ago. And he said, "Hey, do you have a sound file from it?" And I had to sit here and scroll all the way back through my videos to try to find a sound file. So now I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put it on there. That way, if I
just send them the link,
just
here it is.
Like, here's a sound file.
Like
of
and
this
subscribe.
Call. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing here a lot recently.
Yeah.
All right. Rocky did say, "Thank you, Rocky, for making me feel a little bit better." He said, "Don't worry, guys. He had to school me on all this too."
Yeah.
So that makes me feel a lot better.
So Zach Russian texted me while we were in 20 minutes ago. Do you sell a set for this? I mean, is there a set, like if I'm going to buy duck hunting calls, are you going to sell me a teal? Are you going to sell me a mallard? Are you going to sell me that?
Like a box set?
Yeah.
Oh,
do you have a
greatest hits album?
Yeah.
No, I don't have a box set. But if you do, like if someone says, "Hey, I want all of these calls,"
yeah,
all right, that's going to take me a minute, but I'll get them all to you as fast as I can.
That sounds like a really good.
But yeah, the box.
That's a good idea. I'm
idea.
assuming Zach asked. That must be. Do other big brands do that?
I've never. Maybe they do. I ain't walked into a store and seen like a box set of different styles of calls.
Yeah,
but
they probably got a mallard and a teal. And
they probably come together, like two of them. Maybe I have seen some that are like two different calls, like Primos.
Right.
They do a lot of those. You'll walk in and see them where there's two calls in one little package.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea, actually. probably would end up doing that.
I was gonna say, again, we're not the duck guy.
Yeah, if you take this lanyard and this is the duck call lanyard, and you put a teal, a mallard, and whatever else you want to put on there
and
for
sell
duck
it
hunt,
sell
it as a set.
Yeah.
That'd be killer.
Especially if the packaging was legit. Where however that goes down. Like,
you owe us 10% off of that. So
actually, Zach gets probably he's got better lawyers. Well, no, we got Tyler. We're good.
We're good.
Anyway, we'll figure that out later. But that does sound like a killer.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
So explain the lanyard. Explain all this because people don't know what this is.
Yeah. So I hand make these two paracord duck call lanyards. As many drops, which is these things that hold your duck calls, as many drops as you want. I just run 4. That's all. I don't want to carry 17 duck calls into the woods with me.
It depends on if we're trying to be like a rapper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think I could do 40, 50.
No, we don't need that much.
These are just the ones. This cut down here goes on it, of course, but these are the ones that I run. I have my mallard, my wood duck, timber, cut down, because that cut down is versatile. I can use it in open water. So if I'm ever hunting open water, which I rarely do, I have that cut down and I'll run it.
And that depends on what ducks are flying in your area.
Yeah. So mostly I use this little sucker right here, which is my mini wood duck.
Right.
I use the heck out of that sucker because a lot of area I hunt with Dink, and the area that he hunts, which is on his property, wood ducks.
Full of wood ducks.
Not this year, but the years past have been full of wood ducks. So that's what I run, but that's handmade as well. I make those duck totes as well, which is basically the paracord lanyard.
Right. You just put your ducks on it.
Put your ducks on it, throw it over your shoulder, and walk out.
Yeah.
Which could be used for like turkey totes. A lot of people do turkey totes too. So yeah, I do that as well. But yeah, this is just paracord braided.
And all this is on your website.
Yeah. And I already shared the link to the website earlier. So scroll back up through the comments for you people on the live or the replay. The link is there, but let's see. It's blacklabgamecalls.com, right? Just go there. It'll show up. And you've got, I could even share it for the people watching right now. Let's see here. We'll do a screen.
Explain the bands. The bands are just putting your name on it?
Yeah. So I got a guy that, it's a website I go to, that Brookside Game Calls.
Yeah.
He does all my bands. That's who I use. It's because that's the only guy I found to do them. All I do is I go on there, order the band, whatever color I want, and then type in there like, hey, add Black Lab Game Calls to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just laser it out.
And I'm sure hardcore duck hunters, they probably label them mallard, green, wood, whatever it is. Or does the color have any significance?
No. So this is just the color that I picked with blue, just because I like blue.
Yeah.
And they didn't have orange, so I went with blue. But I have, your brass bands as well. Yeah. They just don't have anything on them. But I can do different colors. So like if you want a custom call,
right,
where you want to have
put a business or something on
full say on anything. I've done one for somebody who was giving it to their husband for a birthday gift or something.
Yeah.
And they wanted his name on it. So I said, okay, cool. And I went on there and got it and had them put his name on it, and then had a buddy of mine who had a laser, which is the laser that I have now. He put a little duck flying on the call.
No way.
So it was like a full set of ducks flying. It was on one of the Coca-Bolo calls that I made one time. So if you want to go full custom on it,
yeah, I
can go full custom as you want. Which if you want to do a real custom, I give you full run on anything.
Yeah.
So like I have a personal collection of woods, which is this Coca-Bolo zebra wood, which the name says what it is.
Black and white, I'm guessing.
Well, it's brown and black, but it's got zebra stripes.
Yeah.
I got your website now on the live here. There's a little bit of delay for what you see, but I'm just gonna go through here, and the people on the live are seeing this as well. But like you got it all laid out here, all the different calls that you got.
The lanyards,
call bags, which I got a few of those, 2 of those.
Yeah, look, your lanyards here, like $42.
Pot call,
yeah, glass pot call.
You can get a gift card on there too if you don't want to.
Got hats?
Yeah,
you doing a hat too?
Yep. So I do like this hat that I'm wearing currently. I did the patch myself. I just ordered the hat and then I put the patches on there. I got a few different types that I do. Decal stickers I put on there. I do myself as well. Barrel stickers if you want to put
that was at the top.
Yeah, if you want to put stickers on your barrel of your gun,
flight canceled. I like that.
Yeah, that's when I got on my my
Sweet.
shotgun.
It'll be just. Yeah, I'm gonna go back here in just
Yeah.
a second. You'll see it, but yeah, right there. Yeah,
Right
flights
there,
canceled.
flights canceled.
Yeah.
I got a few different types of ones on there, but if you want like something weird, like Pound Town, like one of my buddies wants, I'll do
Army
that.
guy.
I like it.
No,
No, just
okay.
a regular guy.
All right, yeah.
He just wants Pound Town. I said,
I don't
all right,
blame
cool,
him.
I'll do it for you.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Waterfowl Widowmaker.
Yeah,
For TK and Mike fans, that goes way back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched that.
I did, yeah. TK and Mike was a good one.
That's old school. Shit.
Old school. Yeah.
Shit.
Tell us a turnaround. So if I want I want a cedar mallard call, and I come to you and say, hey, I want a cedar mallard call, how long is it going to take you to get that out for me?
Probably, I generally tell people if you want a certain call and I don't already have it pre-made, give me about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And I'll have it.
That ain't bad at all.
No.
Yeah, I try to keep my turnaround times pretty short, unless it's like a full-blown, like real custom call.
Right.
To where you got to order something.
Yeah,
to get it
like
in.
because I had a guy message me and he wants a black palm wood.
Right. Something special.
Something special. And
Yeah.
I didn't have any black palm. So I said, all right, well, it's going to be a little bit longer, but as soon as I get the wood,
Yeah.
it'll be
So
roughly
your
2 weeks.
job is about 2 weeks. The shipping
Yeah,
is up to them.
it depends on my job takes, I tell people 2 weeks. If it's going to take me any longer than that, I'll message you and be like, hey, I need an extra 3 days or something.
Right.
But once I ship it and I give you the tracking number, that's up to UPS.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what he's
They
saying is like
control
if you ask for a wood that he doesn't
Yeah,
have
but
in
if
house, that might be a week to get it
Yeah.
in his 2 weeks.
So like the wood that I ordered, the black palm, I put in the order that's on the Sunday night, the same night that guy messaged me about it, and they emailed back and said, hey, it takes 3 to 5 business days to ship the wood to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of your
So
control.
I texted that guy back, said, hey, it takes 3 to 5 business days for them to ship it. Once it gets in, or once they send me a tracking number, I'll give you a better update on when I can get it done for you.
Yeah.
And then I like to keep people updated. So anything happens, if the wood gets delayed or, something, I'll send you a progress picture too.
Yeah.
So once I get your barrel done, I'll take a picture of the barrel and I'll send it to you and be like, hey, here's your barrel. Do you like it?
Right.
And then if they're like, yeah, cool, I'll keep working on.
And then you send the sound file too, right?
Yeah. Once it's done, I'll run it and then be like, hey, does this sound good to you? Which a lot of people will be like, oh, I need a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But it sounds different through through the phone. So I got to I got to tell people like, hey, that's, this is going to sound a little different over the phone.
Yeah.
But
that little bitty speaker on your headphone, you put it in their ear.
Once you get it, it's going to sound completely different from what this little sound file does.
Correct.
But I will send the sound file like, hey, this is what the mallard. This is what your mallard sounds like. Do you want it more raspy?
Well, a good set of like headphones or earbuds, because if you just listen to it on the phone, you're not gonna get the low end of anything.
Yeah, no,
anything. And that reminds me of this whole conversation, like going back to the selection of wood, guitar building, and like your buddy here, Dink, he said Black game calls are torture tested, handcrafted, high quality game calls that are budget friendly.
Yeah.
And you remind me of like what we call like a boutique amp in the music world, like Orange amps. You probably don't know who that is, but way back in the day, they were just this amp company that was building these killer amps, kind of like you're doing, high quality, and then now everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
I hope that's what happens to you.
I hope
it's a passion thing.
Yeah.
You're putting the extra time, the work, and like it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And that always shows on the back end, quality wise.
So
it always shows.
When I was on where I work, they give you paternity leave.
Nice.
So when I was on paternity leave, I was literally in my shop every day making a duck call. I was on doing the TikTok live stuff, but every single day I'd be in the shop. My wife probably hated me about it, but I was in there.
I need help with this, baby.
Yeah.
I was in there. I was turning the duck call about every single day, and then she would call or text me like, "Hey, I need you to come in here." And I'd stop what I'm doing.
Sure.
Do
You
that.
got to.
Yeah. Don't yell at me.
Do what I was doing. Like, hey, you good? All right, cool. And I'd run back out there.
Yeah.
So this is every day that I get after work, or if I'm off work, I do this. Like this week, I took off because I needed to use my PTO, or they was going to take it away from me.
What you doing now? Did you say?
No, I don't think I did. I'm a mechanic. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic.
Okay.
So I went from being a helicopter mechanic to heavy equipment.
Still turning wrenches.
Turning wrenches.
Yeah. Good money in that shit though, dude. I mean, that's a good field to be in.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And then every day I get off work, I'll come home,
making these things,
and I'll go make a duck call. I'll at least make a barrel.
Where are you most active? Like if somebody wants to message you and say, "Hey, I want this," are you Facebook, Instagram?
I'm on all of it. Instagram's kind of iffy. I don't really get on there too much.
We're on Instagram right now. Finally got it to
we
work.
are live.
Yeah.
That's where Zach texted me. Maybe that's me. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
There we go.
I do have an Instagram, and I'll post on there. The same thing I post on Facebook gets posted on Instagram. But if you want to message me about a duck call, shoot it to my Facebook. That's where most people will send it, and I'll get it almost immediately. TikTok kind of hides my messages. Right. I don't really know why they do that. But I'll go on there and it'll be like, you have a message, and I'll click on it, and there's nothing there. But then you got to search through like 7 folders just to get to the message. So if you're wanting a duck call and you don't want to order it offline, you want a custom one, shoot me a message on Facebook.
Okay.
I mean, my number's plastered on there.
And I shared the website on the live for people that are that's on here.
You can text me. Yep. Don't call me, because if your number isn't saved, I probably won't answer.
Yeah, that's the telemarketer's fault.
If you call me and it says your name underneath it, I'll answer it. But if it doesn't, if it just says a number,
understood.
You get down with emails, or the best way to get you is Facebook?
Best way is Facebook, or shoot me a message, like text message. If you find my number, it's plastered on my Facebook page, so you can text me there. But if you send me an email, I'll get it, but probably will be like a day or two before I actually see the email pop up.
Yeah. Well, dude, that was a great interview, man. I appreciate you taking it. I know it was a little bit of a drive for you to come down here, dude, but I don't know. We're not huge duck hunters. I've kind of done it one time.
We got a duck hunt next weekend.
Well, hopefully
it doesn't freeze over.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to. It ain't looking good for us, but it is one of the most fun hunting experiences I think you can have when you talk about how much you can shoot, right?
Yeah.
Versus deer hunting.
Yeah, deer hunting's like you sit there and there's a deer.
Yeah.
And you shoot one time. Duck hunting is like if they're moving, it's a real fun experience.
You throw geese and all the other stuff in there. It's a good show.
I know enough about it to know that. So,
it's real fun.
That's awesome. But I'm really digging on, man, the attention to detail. The way it looks like to me is like it's like artistic. I mean, they look like
little projects,
chess pieces over there, and I know you've put love, time, and effort into getting them right. And they have that collectible vibe. Like, do duck hunters? Obviously, it's a tool and it's utility, but is it a collectible thing too? Like,
So there's a lot of old school calls get collected, and there's a lot of other ones like PS Old keyholes, which that's just a certain type of cut that they do. Those get collected, and people will have them like sitting up on their shelves and things like that. So duck calls are, for certain people, are very collectible. They'll use them, and then once they retire them, they put them up on their shelf,
on the mantle.
Yep, and then they stay there. It's like a little collectible.
Well, dude, I hope Black Lab game calls are one of those.
I do too.
That's part of that collection.
Doubt.
So
that would be sick if I could do this full time.
Yeah.
Well, you keep pecking away at it.
Oh,
man.
I am.
Your heart's in the right place, and it seems like I'm an outsider on the call game, but it seems like that they look great.
Yeah.
They look great to me.
Thank you.
And if you're willing to back it with a lifetime warranty,
yep,
we don't have to say nothing else.
Just give him the website, let him order.
Yeah, and there it is. So y'all hit him up, man. Go check him out. Give him a follow on the Facebook and all the other social,
Instagram, TikTok.
Yep. If you're there, if you're on it, go give him a follow. That helps out people tremendously. Costs you nothing.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for coming in here today.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we loved it. And everybody watching on the live, the replays, thank y'all. The audio as well. Go give that guy a follow. What do we got, Joey, coming up? We got some cool stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
All right, Joey's not a man. He's a man of few words.
I got a bunch of schedules. I had to pull my phone up.
I hear you. He's going to keep y'all guessing, but we got some good stuff. Thanks, everybody, in the comments, and y'all keep tuning in. We'll keep doing them.
Yep, appreciate it.
Later.